good on mic? Are the mics good?
To get signed in before we start. We have a few more people signed in. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. One, this is not Charlie Perkins sitting here, even though his name tag says that. This is Ben Willis, who is filling in as interim attorney for us. Unfortunately, Mr. Perkins had a bike wreck a few weeks ago and is not doing well at all. I guess he's healing. He's in rehab right now, so hopefully within the next month or two, he'll be back. But until then, we'll have Mr. Willis filling in for us. Before we get started, if you do plan to speak, make sure that you've signed in. In a minute, we'll have Ben swear everybody in who is planning to speak. We are going to have the 3-minute rule tonight. So everybody, if you have a unique thing to talk about, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Our staff over here will let you know when your 3 minutes are up. What we do ask, out of respect to everybody's time, if you're talking about something that somebody else has already talked about, please keep your comments unique in content. Again, it's just respectful to everybody's time, and that way we'll have an opportunity, hopefully, to get everybody through here that wants to speak. Just try to keep your comments, again, to 3 minutes and unique to what everybody else has said prior to you. All right? If anybody that's, yes, sir.
Can you raise your volume in?
If this doesn't amplify, it just records. So.
It should.
You said, okay. You said this one would pick up anywhere though, right?
Maybe closer, I guess.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Let's get a little closer.
Can you hear me now? hear me? No.
That one you gotta be up to your face.
Well, then that seems worse than that one.
No.
It's better.
Pause for a second. I've got it.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
It'll be like pop. Try now.
Yeah, we heard that.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. Do I need to repeat what I just said? Everybody got what I said? So we're gonna have a 3-minute rule. We ask that everybody keep their comments to 3 minutes. The staff here will let us know when your 3 minutes is getting towards the conclusion of the 3 minutes. We do ask that you keep your comments unique to what other people before you have said. Again, it's just to be respectful of everybody's time, because we do have a lot of people here who are here to speak. If you are planning to speak, make sure that you've signed up in the podium in the back. I think, commissioners, when you are speaking, my understanding is these microphones, you do have to put them directly up to your mouth, so you might just need to pass it around whenever it is that you're going to have something to say. You got it? Maybe you need to speak out loud too, Brad. So with that, anybody that plans to speak, please stand up, raise your right hand, and Mr. Willis will screen.
If you intend to speak tonight, please raise your right hand and say I do and I'm finished. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, when you approach to speak, please tell us your name too, so I can get a name.
Yeah, please make sure you state your name as well as your address when you approach the microphone. Feel free to be back. Can you hear me now, if I leave it there? Okay, I'm going to open public hearing for ZMA 2025-36, Stables at Blossom Park.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening. This is Stables at Blossom Park, a zoning map amendment, ZMA 2025-36. The proposal is to change the zone of the parcel, or part of the parcel rather, from B5 to R3 on Blossom Park Drive. 10.5 acres of the parcel would be affected if approved. The total parent parcel is just over 13 acres. Again, the existing zone currently is B5, which is our general commercial park. The proposal is to shift part of the parcel to R3 high-density residential. Surrounding zones in the area are B5 commercial and R2 medium-density residential. The overall proposed use for the parcel is 152 apartments with associated parking and facilities. The future land use designation for this parcel is mixed use. Overall staff recommendation for this application is denied. For context and proximity, here is the parcel in question near Blossom Park Drive, Ikebana Path, as well as Connector Road. This is our future land use map, which is part of our comprehensive plan. The mixed use designation is shown here in purple. The mixed use designation does contemplate and consider residential use up to high density residential use, which is the current proposal. So in that aspect, it is partially in alignment with the comprehensive plan. Again, the project site overall is just over 13 acres, zone B5 currently. There will be approximately 2.9 acres of said B5 zoning remaining in the parcel if this request were to be approved. Just a little history on the parcel. The subject property received zoning approval from A1 agricultural to B5 commercial park in February of 2000 as part of a larger 27-acre rezoning. This site also received a preliminary development plan approval for a 230,000 square foot commercial development on 27 of the acres. The adjoining lots west of Cherry Blossom Park and south of Ikebana Road, as well as Planet Fitness, have been developed over time, leaving the remainder 13 acres that we are discussing this evening. Properties in the immediate vicinity are already developed with a mix of single-family detached homes, townhomes, and commercial uses of varying types and scale. This is also from our comprehensive plan. This map designates this area as a neighborhood center. And what is a neighborhood center? Our comprehensive plan seeks to achieve the following outcomes for neighborhood centers: to efficiently use the land available for development by combining higher density residential, retail, restaurant, grocery, and public services such as parks, schools, or libraries into a compact area, thus reducing motor vehicle miles driven to meet the daily needs of residents, park and walk, etc., near use type facilities. Also to enhance the character of the built environment in the area through use of quality building materials and innovative architectural design. And lastly, the goal that they provide open space for public park uses that are centrally located, avoiding environmentally sensitive areas, have excellent bicycle and pedestrian access, and provide for public amenities. These open spaces will increase opportunities for socialization and exercise and improve the quality of life of our community. Permitted uses in the R3 district. Again, this is what the applicant seeks for part of the parcel. Single-family dwellings, duplexes, and multi-family dwellings with a maximum of 16 units per net acre. Planned unit development projects for residential use only, or planned unit development projects for residential use with neighborhood commercial facilities. This is the overall proposal brought to us by the applicant. We have 8 two-story apartment buildings, associated parking, community facilities, with the adjoining commercial remainder to the west shown as a concept plan. The comprehensive plan does state that buildings in the Blossom Park Neighborhood Center should be 2 to 2.5 stories tall. The applicant has provided this to us in their concept. Multifamily uses provided for the site should be either second-story apartments above commercial developments or located as a transition between the commercial uses and the existing neighborhood uses to the east. Heights of all buildings should be a maximum of 2 stories at the periphery in this area in order to better fit in with the surrounding development. Again, all buildings proposed are 2 stories. While the site is near the connector road corridor, this site has closer ties to the residential areas directly adjoining the neighborhood center. Thus, the characters should go hand in hand. Any development of this site should aesthetically fit in with the residential area and provide commercial and residential uses that are compatible and provide for a better quality of life for those who live in the area. On to our traffic impact study. The applicant did submit a traffic study which highlighted these intersections shown here. And this is the traffic study as submitted by the applicant. Staff took the opportunity, however, to highlight some problem areas as identified in the traffic study. Blossom Park Drive and Connector Road is an intersection of difficulty as identified in the comprehensive plan and other documents. Currently, it grades as an F in certain areas, an E in others, and with no build, there would still be a deficiency in the infrastructure in the area. However, with a build out, it would be increased. When we consider zoning map amendments, we are bound by KRS 100.213. Before any map amendment is granted, the Planning Commission must find that the map amendment is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan, or in the absence of such a finding, that one or more of the following apply, and such findings shall be recorded in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission or the legislative body or fiscal court. A, that the existing zoning classification given to the property is inappropriate and that the proposed zoning classification is appropriate. B, that there have been major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature within the area involved which were not anticipated in the adopted comprehensive plan and which has substantially altered the basic character of said area. Staff's findings. 2024 comprehensive plan does show the most appropriate land use to be mixed use. The proposed R3 zoning for the property could be appropriate for this future land use designation, as high density residential uses are expected as a part of mixed use development patterns when the area can support them. However, many sections of the comprehensive plan identify the transportation and infrastructure challenges faced by this area. Staff finds that this site cannot support a high density residential development as detailed in the concept plan accompanying this application. Based on findings that the requested zone change does not satisfy the requirements of KRS 100.213, staff recommends denial of the zone change request for 10.5 acres from B5 General Commercial Park to R3 High Density Residential. If the commission does recommend approval of this application, staff recommends the following conditions be attached. And the only condition that staff recommends attaching, if you approve, is that they follow all applicable requirements of the zoning ordinance and subdivision development regulations. Are there any questions for staff at this time?
Your recommendation is no.
Recommendation is denied.
Any questions from commission?
Mr.
Sherwood, you
Yes, sir.
say that currently at no build, it's E,
In certain areas, sir, specifically westbound Blossom Park at Connector Road.
okay, with build, it would be,
That still maintains a consistent E across the board. However, just adjacent to the eastbound section does go down to actually to a C road, which I will have to yield to the traffic engineer, who I believe is with us this evening, to explain more details on the study.
Just 1 second, we'll have audience questions. Do you want to speak now on the traffic study, or do you want to wait until the, okay. Any additional questions from the commissioners? All right, thank you, Red.
Yes, ma'am.
Developer?
Thank you. This thing.
I think there are, if anybody's standing, there are a few
Okay.
additional chairs over here, I think.
Is that all right?
Yeah. There are a few additional chairs over here if anybody wants to sit. Couple back there.
My name's John Woodall. I have the honor and privilege tonight of representing the developer Sunshine Development Group. With me is Derek Triplett from Land Design and Development, Damon Garrett with Sunshine, and then Diane Zimmerman, who's our traffic engineer. My mom told me when I was younger, if I worked hard and kept my nose clean, I'd do great things, and people would fall in behind me. This wasn't what I meant. Either one of these thoughts going to happen. But in any event, we appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. We appreciate the accommodation and the ability the city gave us to be in this, or college gave us to be in this hall after last month and the mishap with the AC. And it's important that all of these folks that are here get their due process. Let me just fill in a little background that Mr. Shirley wouldn't have covered. That's not part of what he does. The staff does an excellent job in what they do most of the time. I agree with them. It's just, this is one time that we don't. We've actually filed this application. It's been about a year ago, and those of you that were at the neighborhood association, the neighborhood meeting, talked about that. But the reason why we took a while to get here is we're cognizant, and Damon is, of the traffic issues there. And we also know that there's the Department of Transportation has a project on the board that has to do with the connector road. They have another project on the board that has to do with the extension of Lexus Way, both of which would really relieve the pressure on this area. I see Senator Thayer seated here could obviously tell us that, unfortunately, in that road process, the planning process, there's a lot of prioritization trading that happens. And we thought that at least the connector road project would be in this particular road plan, and it just didn't turn out that way in the end. Now, the Lexus Way, at least the design of it is, and hopefully that design will start within the next, by end here in the next 2 years. But we thought we were doing the right thing, the developer did, to take the community, into strict consideration here. And let's just see if we get through the General Assembly and the project gets put in the road plan. And when that didn't happen, we were forced to come on ahead. At the end of the day, you'll hear from Ms. Zimmerman, we don't feel that this particular proposal is a market increase in traffic. She's going to take you through that. And what we also said at the neighborhood meeting is this is already a B5. This is not an A1 property. We're not rezoning this from a farm or asking it to be rezoned from a farm. That left the barn a long time ago, back many years ago. So what Ms. Zimmerman will show you is the trips involved with this particular development, which we felt to be the most least intrusive use for this property, are markedly, exponentially lower than what they will be with a B5. Now, how that works, we're asking for a zone change, so we have to come here and ask. planning commission. They vote, that's how the process works. If it was just a B5, we would submit a development plan, and then staff would regularly have to decide under KRS 100.275 whether this comes back to the planning commission or it's just a ministerial approval if we meet the subdivision regulations. But that's not why we're here. We're here over our request to take this from B5 to R3, simply because we believe that is the least intrusive and most efficient use of this particular property. As far as the comp plan, totally agree with Mr. Shirley. There's certain ways we get a zone change. And the first way is we are consistent or meet the comprehensive plan. And there's a process we go through when we start these things in terms of our design. And Georgetown has a process where there's a workshop before the planning commission meeting, there's a technical review committee meeting, and you learn things. So things change, and that leads to delays a little bit. But along the way, our density decreased, the height of our buildings decreased, the orientation of the development decreased, so that we were transitioning from a multifamily to single family as opposed to commercial to single family. And all of those things, put us, as far as we're concerned, on all fours with the comprehensive plan. And in fact, in the staff report, they specifically state, and I quote, "The current proposal is in alignment with the comp plan in terms of scale and design." The reason why I think we're recommended for denial, it's the traffic issue. That's really why we're here. However, in the comp plan, when this property was rezoned back in 2000, obviously we had that comp plan. Well, then we have a new comp plan that you all did in 2024. And there's nothing stated in that comp plan that one of these particular projects has to be done before this property was rezoned. And it mentions the projects that they're being talked about, but it doesn't say that this property shouldn't be rezoned or these properties shouldn't be rezoned until that's done. In fact, there have been other tracts out there that have been rezoned. And so, unfortunately, Mr. Garrett finds himself in the unfortunate position of being the last guy to the dance. And when he's bought this property in reliance upon the comp plan and reliance upon what that says, and but we're having to deal with the traffic issue. And once again, when you sit down in his position and you're trying to figure out, okay, what's the most efficient and advantageous use I can make for this property to be most harmonious with the neighborhood and with the city? Well, I do what's going to create the least amount of traffic. So what Ms. Zimmerman's going to explain to you is that we're going from an F to an F minus. It's probably the easiest way I can say it. I'm not an engineer, so I'll let her get to that. But I'll talk a little bit at the end when I've heard what others have to say. But right now, I'd like to let Derek Triplett, our designer, take you through the concept plan that we put together so you can understand what we're looking at out there in terms of a residential development versus a 100,000 square foot retail development.
Is that in here?
Yes.
And then you're also going to have here, okay. But what you're going to show up here is the same thing.
Oh, here we go. I told you there'd be button pushing.
Thank you, John. Good evening. My name is Derek Triplett with Land Design and Development. We'll run through, we've got some slides in front of this concept plan, but a lot of these are a little bit redundant to some of Brett's presentation, so we'll run through this relatively quickly. Here's the existing zoning of the property. It's all B5. These are some of the permitted uses you would see within B5, pretty heavily in intensity from a commercial standpoint, allowing B4 uses as well. Future land use map calls this out as a mixed use, which we are fulfilling by proposing what would be called a horizontal mixed use development by preserving the commercial space within this property as well as our proposed residential component. John mentioned the evolution and the time that we've taken on this application, and so back in 2025, this was the initial concept associated with this zone change request. These were all 3-story buildings at the time at 168 units. We got feedback from staff that the 3 stories were an issue, specifically adjacent to the residential to the east of the development. And so this was a quick sketch representing what was our second iteration of the plan to knock down the buildings down to 2-story along the shared property lines to the east, still maintaining the 168 units. The additional feedback we received that it's still too dense, too heavily populated from a dwelling unit standpoint, and they would like to see no 3-story buildings. And so for every step of the way, the developer here has been willing to hear that feedback, and so this is the plan as it currently stands today. These are all 2-story buildings. We're at 152 total units, which is 14.5 dwelling units per acre. The R3 would permit 16 units per acre max, and so that's 18 units that have been removed from this plan since its initial iteration. The site as a whole is 13.4 acres, 10.5 of which is proposed as a down zone from B5 to R3, and 2.9 acres would be to remain B5, thus fulfilling the mixed use category of the future land use classification. This also achieves an element from the comprehensive plan that is a step down in zoning. And if you'll recall some of the comments that Rhett had made during his presentation, is that this can serve as a transition from the more heavily commercial zoned areas along this area. As you step down in zoning and intensity to the very east, we share a property line with single-family townhomes that are served off of Riviera Drive. So this, from a scale and land use standpoint, is a step down in intensity from that standpoint. From an amenity standpoint, as far as what's being provided on the subject property, we're proposing a clubhouse, pool, picnic area, dog park, playgrounds, Class A amenities to go along with this type of multifamily development. From an overall green space standpoint, there's actually half of this site is being maintained as green space, 5.2 acres of the 10.5, which is a significant number. It's not something that you see in most multifamily developments. From a stormwater standpoint, there is an existing detention basin to the northeast corner of this property. That was originally built and sized to take a significant amount of impervious surface from this parcel. Brett had mentioned the original zone change and the preliminary plan that was associated with that. There was much more impervious surface originally designed on this phase of that master development. So by reducing that, not only do we feel very confident that the existing detention basin would be able to accommodate the additional runoff, we also have plans for a potential additional detention basin at the corner of Ikebana and Blossom Park Drive, should we find, if we get to civil construction plans and hydraulic analysis, that we need any additional mitigation for that runoff. From a tree canopy standpoint, we're preserving existing trees that are shared along that eastern property line. We are greatly increasing the tree canopy that currently exists on the site today, as there's really not much to speak of at all. We'll have to abide by the regulations of the landscape code, as well as this developer has committed to enhanced landscaping along Blossom Park Drive and along Ikebana Drive by way of a berm, ornamental shrubs, and additional street trees. And one more item before I leave this is to touch on some drainage. One of the benefits of having a neighborhood meeting is you get to hear some feedback from the folks. And once we got down to really understand some of the details, we had heard some complaints, I guess you could say, from the neighbors about runoff that was coming off of this property to the east over the hill into the back of the townhomes of Riviera Drive. This development would actually alleviate a lot of those drainage concerns, as we'd be catching the runoff from this property and directing it over to the detention basin to the north. This is just an aerial image showing this development within the context of the overall area. This is another good opportunity to discuss the transitional nature of this land use relative to the surrounding areas, going from that commercial, the higher intensity to a lower intensity multifamily, and then to the adjacent patio homes and subsequent single family as you proceed down east. And I think our developer wants to come up and discuss some of the options from a building facade standpoint.
Thank you guys for coming. My name is Damon Garrett. I'm the developer out of Louisville. And as you can see, I came up with a few different renderings. Going to a two-story makes everything more of a home-like setting. I'm pretty partial to more of the modern farmhouse look. So that's exactly what we've designed here. Something that would fit very well with the townhouses and moving over into Cherry Blossom as well. I mean, these are designed with the comforts in mind and also the scale and the class that the area deserves. This will be a series of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. So you'll have a mixture of families. So you're going to be walking to all of the businesses and amenities close by. We're trying to make it more of a park-like setting, as Derek mentioned, by keeping 5 acres all green. Again, we did start this over a year ago, and again, the original plan to change Connector Road was on the horizon. So I waited to see what we could do, and that was with 168 and 3-story buildings. And if Connector Road had already started, this is exactly what it needs. I mean, bottom line, as the size I had it previously. But as the concerns arose that this is probably not going to happen in the next year or two, so that's why we went back to the drawing board. I mean, the piece of dirt did not get any less expensive. It still stayed the same price. And so we tried to make this something that everyone would be proud of. You would want to have your kids live here. It's going to be safe. It's going to be for market rents. It's going to have all the amenities of a Class A facility. If you're familiar with the Mills Apartments, they've been there for years. It's starting to get a little bit older. This is going to be a nice crown jewel for that area. And we need housing. I mean, you need housing in Georgetown. It's just the bottom line. And hopefully we can offer something that everyone would be proud of. And it's something that you would drive through and really respect the architecture and the design. So I hope you guys will give that consideration tonight. Again, Diane Zimmerman's going to speak of, somebody puts a big box here. It's a lot of traffic. And normally when you go with the down zoning, you're trying to make things better. That's really what we're trying to do, is make things better, because it's already approved to be very bad. It's going to be better this way. So I appreciate your all's consideration. Thank you so much.
Diane, please do Mrs. Diane Zimmerman. Diane, would you give the commission the benefit of your education and your credentials?
Sure. Diane Zimmerman, I'm a licensed professional engineer with 40 years of experience in traffic engineering, urban transportation planning, and highway design. I was asked to prepare a traffic impact study for the site, even though it didn't meet the criteria that is in your zoning ordinance to provide a traffic impact study, but we felt like it was an important piece of that.
Could you just explain why the ordinance doesn't require that?
Yes, your ordinance requires any development that generates over 100 p.m. peak hour, or any peak hour over 100 peak hour trips is required to submit one. As you can see on the screen or on your sheet, this development will generate 80 p.m. peak hour trips. That is trips in a single hour. Terminology sometimes is confusing. This isn't everybody that comes and goes all day long. This is a single hour that occurs between the hours of 4 and 6 p.m. And so just like you may think about your next door neighbor, maybe your spouse doesn't come home from work at the same time you do, that is reflected in this trip generation. As we have talked a great deal about this, same acreage of land could be easily developed as over 100,000 square feet of commercial space. We charted these side by side so that you can see the difference between what we are asking for 66 a.m. peak hour trips compared to 193, and then the p.m. peak hour apartments would generate 80, whereas that would be compared to 564. So quick math, right off the top of my head, that's 6 times the amount of traffic that could be developed without additional approvals.
Ms.
From the
Zimmerman,
planning
not to
commission.
interrupt, what are the
Yes.
AM peak hours identified as? Is that
Between the hour of 7 and 9 a.m., a single hour in that 1 hour period. Again, we were aware of the projects in the area, and we put these here on a map so that you could see how they impact the site, the extension of Lexus Way, and that the funding is in the fiscal year 2028. I'll remind everyone that fiscal year 28 begins in July of 27 and runs through June of 28. So it's getting closer, I would say. And then the other project is the Connector Way. It has been designed. They are ready to, the plans are ready to acquire right-of-way and begin utility. That funding is not scheduled to happen in the next 2 years. It is currently listed as fiscal year 2029, which again could begin as early as July of 28, and with construction then in fiscal year 30. The plan calls for a traffic signal at the intersection of Blossom Park Way and Connector Road. There's additional widening and additional lanes that would be added to Connector Road specifically. And to answer Mr. Garrett's question specifically, I want to point out that the movement that is level service F today and that will drop to 0, and to explain that, I'll be back up there in a second. That is exiting the gas station and trying to either go straight across into Blossom Park or to try to make a left turn to go back to US 62. There's only 17 people trying to turn left today and 7 trying to go across, indicating how difficult that move is today. Obviously, those drivers and users have the option to kind of double back on themselves and go south to come out at the traffic signal. But so when the results come back to me as a 0, that means that making that left turn, there will be no gaps to exit from the gas station to turn left onto Connector Road. That's what that 0 is indicative of.
As far as, explain the F minus, how that, what movement does that relate to? How do we get to that?
It's that the F is based on the left turn from the gas station trying to go back towards US 62.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, so currently, no left turn.
Right.
Yeah, right.
It sort of makes it by default a right turn only situation. I think if the highway department had their safety druthers, they would prefer that left turn movement be completely eliminated today. But once a traffic signal is installed there, that would allow for that movement to be made. And that is part of the roadway plan, to put that signal there.
I think we'll, the only other point I wanted to make.
Can I get everybody to, we're gonna have, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The only other point we wanted to make was just from we talked a little bit about this, I think, at the workshop, was from the standpoint of when this project is actually constructed, when it's finished, when COs are issued, the developer would agree to, as a zoning condition, to move the first issuance of certificates of occupancy out 2 years from the date of zoning to further diminish the impact of this. We've really tried to do the right thing here, and we'll hear what everybody else has to say and respond at the end.
Thank you. Anything else from the developer side? Okay, commission, questions for the developer? Okay, Mr. Jesse, you probably need this.
Just a couple clarifying questions. So this existing basin has been there for a long time, correct?
Come on.
And can you tell me how much land is within the existing basin, it's been there for quite a while.
That basin was built with the Planet Fitness, and there's about 50,000 square feet of land associated with that.
And then the second question is, did you say there were 5 acres of green space in your plan?
Correct.
Did I understand that right? I'm trying to figure out where the 5 acres is at. It doesn't really show up.
So in the project data, we show 5.2 acres of proposed impervious area. And so the remainder would be pervious, green space.
Which is scattered out inside the development.
It's not like a designated one spot. Okay, I want to make sure I knew that. I wasn't missing it. And then the third question is, you're the developer there. Since this is already rated for commercial, do you actually have a commercial plan already that you have thought about with what you already own?
Yes, we actually have a commercial plan that would probably be forthcoming if, obviously, we can't downzone this, because obviously we need to get the land developed. I mean, it's sitting there, it's basically just costing money at this point. We want to be a good neighbor and do the right thing, but yes, there will be probably within the next 60 days, a commercial plan that is zone specific for this piece of property. Again, that is not our wish. And previously, it was actually approved for a commercial development that was pulled off the table. So,
You all,
That was two questions.
sorry, you all made the decision as a developer to pull it off the table?
yeah, we
Based on
decided not to
economics?
do it at the time. It was a few years ago. Obviously, retail was on the downswing, so we decided to pull it off. And then when we got together, we thought, what is a great use for this with the Planet Fitness being right next door, which is part of our property as well and part of our business. We just decided we thought this would be just a much better use of the land.
Can you all hear me if it's like this?
Ours works.
I might just have to hold it. All right, any other commission questions for the developer? All right, then we will open the floor to public comment and question. Again, we're gonna keep it at 3 minutes each, and I would ask that once a topic's been covered, if, Doc, I see you looking at me. Are you gonna say something on behalf of the HOA?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead before we start the full public comment, that's fine. Mr. Sims? Probably should call you Mr. Sims instead of Doc.
Thank you, Ms. Baker.
No problem.
Ladies and gentlemen of the commission, my name is Harold Sims. It's my pleasure tonight to represent the Cherry Blossom Village Homeowners Association. Just to be certainly clear about it, the Cherry Blossom HOA is opposed to this application. And want to comment on my reasons of why I do not think this project should be approved. And it initially stems from the designation, the application, and project by the applicant is proposed as a mixed use, but there's no, although they've left a remaining sliver of commercial property that's already zoned commercial on the table, there's no plan for that. You heard that there's one coming just now. It's the first time that we've heard that they have a plan for it, but at this point in time, I think what you're being asked to do is approve this as being consistent with the comprehensive plan because it has a mixed-use label, but I think the label is doing all the work here. What we see is on a 13-acre tract, 78% of it is being used as a high-density residential project. A neighborhood commercial center and mixed-use development concept envision a development that combines different land uses into cohesive, develop continuous use to achieve an integrated project. In this particular project, the commercial development is not being rezoned. It's simply a 2.9 acre remnant. The development around it, the 78% is the dominant feature of this development. It completely dominates what's left. We don't know what, if anything, would ever go in the front. There is no, the staff had to ask for sidewalks to be added to it. There's no integration or combination between the commercial use and the residential use. The neighborhood commercial center that was proposed for this area talks about a development pattern, an integrated project, a development that a development describes the character of what you get when it gets built. You can't manufacture that character by declining to rezone the sliver. And so I maintain to you that what's going on here is we've got a residential project, high density residential project that's being called a mixed use development by leaving a sliver of property that's already zoned commercial up front. And if it gets zoned in the future, it may or may not go forward. These two aren't even connected. What we have is that the staff had asked for sidewalks, there'd be no connectivity at all. The residential doesn't blend into the commercial. You have to go all the way around and then the front side if you're not on foot. The buffer for the commercial use, the plan called for the commercial use to be integrated as part of the project. What we have here is a big footprint of a residential project and a little piece left up front. I don't think that really meets the intent and the spirit behind the idea of a mixed-use development. I think it's being used as a means to an end to get to say it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. The staff quotes that the comp plan lacks arterial access and that any residential, the comp plan says that because the site lacks arterial access, any residential component should be of medium density or lower. R3 at 14.5 acres is a high density residential use. This neighborhood center says the residential use should not be high density. And the qualifier here is that the staff said that high density is contemplated when an area can support them. And the staff concluded that this site cannot support this concept plan. So the use of the mixed use is conditional on the infrastructure capacity. That condition fails here because the staff by its findings says the infrastructure can't support this, so the condition part of it makes the idea of a mixed use here really just be in name only. The traffic and infrastructure, which you're going to hear more about tonight, is a situation where we don't know what's going to happen in the future or when anything's going to happen in the future. I think that is vitally important to this project, and it's premature at this point to allow this kind of development to go in an area with the idea that it's being done under the guise of a mixed use, when there's really no indication that there is anything other than high density residential development planned for this area. I don't think that this project meets the criteria of 100.21 that's consistent with the comprehensive plan, and urge this commission to deny this application. Thank you.
So I did allow Mr. Sims a little bit more leeway. Speaking on behalf of the larger audience, with the public comment, we are going to limit it to a strict 3 minutes. Again, I ask that if somebody's talked about something already, traffic or whatever, that you not talk about that again. Once we've heard about that issue, please make your comments unique to whatever issue you want to bring forward. And think about what Mr. Sims shared and try to keep your comments also outside of the realm of, I don't think probably a bunch of them will delve into that. His were more technical in nature. So with that, when you do come up to the microphone, make sure you state your name and your address so that we can have that for the records. So,
Yeah, we just come up any old time.
yeah, just, I'm not going to do it in the order or anything. It's really just first come, first served.
Madam Chair, commissioners, staff, friends and neighbors, my name is Mark Smith, live at 106 Bethpage. Been fortunate to develop a couple of thousand acres in Georgetown-Scott County, so I'm very familiar with what we're here and what we're doing. Part of that was the development of an apartment community here in Georgetown, it's the traditions. But it was on property that was already zoned apartments, and the people that lived around it already knew exactly what was going to be developed there. Now, in developing that and managing it for better than a decade, I got to know all the good and all the bad about multifamily and about high density. I think that when most of these people, they made their largest investment normally in buying their home. And in that, most people look at the neighborhood they're moving into, what they're spending their money on, and what's called for future development around it. And I know this was to be all commercial. Now, to me, commercial, it brings services, it brings goods, it brings convenience. Commercial enhances the value of residential. Now, high-density apartments bring a transient environment, and they're wanting to create a transient community. Now, what do I mean by that? It's very easy. All you have to do is Google this. John, council, they can Google it while we're sitting here. The average turnover of apartments is 40 to 50% per year. Now, in managing apartments, if you're going to do it correctly, you check 3 things when somebody makes an application: criminal history, credit, and past housing issues. Now, there's no oversight of the commission or any other government body that would have oversight for the management of this future high-density, transient community. There's no oversight. If it's not managed well, you can only imagine what is going to rotate in and out of there. This impact on the probably, arguably, the finest, priciest, classiest residential community in Georgetown-Scott County is immediate and adjacent. When I say immediate and adjacent, those apartments are just probably from here to the windows, away from the townhouse. And I think that there is no transition. I would hope that the commission, as you look around here, these are your friends, these are your neighbors. These are out-of-town developers, represented by an out-of-town attorney, who are here for one thing: our dollars. It's going to negatively affect the community. It's going to immediately negatively affect Cherry Blossom. So it would be my hope that, I know my 3 minutes just went up, that the
Can we
traffic,
give him 1 minute?
that the traffic is the least of what.
We've tried that in the past and it never works out well.
I would ask the board to,
Okay,
please,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. It may be helpful if you give like a 2:45 warning, so that way they can wrap up. Yeah, all right.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
My name is Diana Hannon, and I want to spend a few minutes talking about the economic impact of the requested zoning change. For Georgetown, the important question is whether the rezoning and development proposal creates long-term net community value after accounting for ongoing public costs required to support it. A high-density apartment development with approximately 152 apartments and 272 parking spaces on this parcel represents a substantial concentration of population, traffic, infrastructure demand, and municipal service consumption. While the developer certainly benefits from recurring rental income and long-term property appreciation, the city assumes permanent responsibility for supporting the infrastructure and public services necessary to sustain the development. Based on average market rents, a project of this size will generate between 3 to 3.8 million in annual rental revenue alone, because the developer is also functioning as the property management company, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, because you do have development. I mean, you do have property.
I'm a
management.
builder and developer, EMR, that manages about 1,600 individual units. They're the management company,
Okay.
with a AAA rating.
But you're also associated with them, yes?
No.
No, okay, then I will stand corrected on that. But I'll double check that. Thank you. But that functioning as a property management company represents additional revenue streams through parking fees, pet fees, lease administration fees, maintenance charges, late fees, utility pass-throughs, application fees, and renewal fees. Over time, the property itself also appreciates in value, creating substantial long-term equity gains for the ownership entity. And by the way, today was the first time I saw what the design looks like. It doesn't comport at all with the adjoining community. While the economic outlook for the city is materially different, right? While the city receives property tax revenue and limited permit-related revenue, it also incurs ongoing and permanent obligations associated with servicing the development, higher density residential projects, increased long-term demand on roads, traffic systems, police, fire, EMS, stormwater infrastructure, water and sewer systems, code enforcement, and public maintenance. Oh, okay. One thing I wanted to, I've done an at-a-glance on comparison between how the city fares economically versus the developer. I will mail these. And I've got even deeper dive on this for everyone. One thing I wanted to challenge while I'm up here is the traffic.
3 minutes?
Okay, well, that 87 number that's being bandied around, it doesn't tell the full picture, okay? We get to over 100 trips in an hour when you start looking at other methodologies and other scenarios, including counting, total peak period impact, not just one peak hour. You've got the broader 2 to 3 hour evening commute window can easily exceed 100 trips, including visitor, delivery, rideshare, maintenance, leasing office, and service trips, so on and so forth. When you narrowly get into this calculation, it doesn't tell this full story of the number of trips that are happening, and it's huge. And we cannot make a left-hand turn, as you noted, out of the gas station. And with this, we will not make a left-hand turn at all out of the community. So I have a lot more, but I'll send it. Thanks very much.
On the traffic studies, I'm sure everybody has an opinion about how the traffic study was done. I do want to reiterate, there are specific states, in every commission meeting just about we hear people disagree with the traffic study. Understand there are specific ways that the state mandates traffic studies must be done, and that's the way this one has been done in alignment with that. So while we understand there's disagreement on methodology, please also understand that every developer has to do it the way that the state mandates it, and we can agree or disagree with the results of it, but at least understand the methodology behind it is state mandated. So, Mr. Desi, you have something to say?
I think it's very important that all of you hear this data that you say you collected. We actually want to see all that. If you can make sure that we get a copy, and I know Holden will make sure we all get an individual copy, but it's very important that this planning commission gets to see what the community has worked. We would like to see it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rotate microphone. All right. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Julie McKee, and I live at 172 Clubhouse Drive in Cherry Blossom. I sent comments to you all from June 14th, so it's been a while. But I want to hit some highlights and to give dittos to what has been said tonight. The comprehensive plan states, instead of picking a community primarily based on the job, people are more often picking a community based on its features and its amenities first before the job. That describes how my late husband and I got to Georgetown. I am a come here, but I'm from here. But I've been around Ohio, and I really like Georgetown, and I love the neighborhood. Many years ago, growth kind of was organic in Georgetown. We had so much going on. And there needed a connector road to connect 62 to 460. That was great. But the growth around Connector Road has not been smart. It has been very difficult for us to deal with. We've talked about traffic. Ditto on that. I had to change my work hours based on the traffic in there. I don't see the road plan happening even in 2 years, to be honest about it. I don't think that's going to happen. The intersection between Blossom Park and the Connector Road is under-addressed in that road plan, and that's what we get to live with every day. Mr. Sims did talk about the connectivity with the neighborhoods, with sidewalks, and for pedestrian and cyclists. That's really important to me. I do not think this development meets the criteria set forth in our plan relative to the neighborhood center. Not at all. It's an apartment complex. I want to address something that nobody has addressed that really has nothing to do with this particular complex in particular, but it is the development of apartments in Georgetown and Scott County. It is vast. It is huge. And I believe it was Mr. Sims, I don't really recall, that talked about how apartments are transient. They don't create a community feeling. As Georgetown, and I don't say this just to the commission, I say it to elected officials, and I say it to myself and my neighbors, we need to work toward home ownership. We need to work for income-aligned ownership. That keeps people in a community, it keeps people part of a community, not to move in and out. So I am asking for us to deny this plan. I would like for us to come up with a better plan that fits that definition of the community center. I think it will be worth the
3
wait.
minutes.
Thank you. Perfect.
Hello, my name is Susan McMillan, and I live at 125 Kingston Drive in Cherry Blossom Villages. And I had a prepared thing, but I'm just going to talk from my heart. I have a newly minted driver in my family. She just turned 16. She just got her driver's license. She just got a job at Frisch's. So I know the traffic study was turning right out of the gas station, and that's fine because those people have the option to go down to the light at Lowe's and come out that way. When you're coming out of our neighborhood, you don't have a light anywhere. And so in order for her to get to her job, which her shifts usually start at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the peak travel time through that intersection is between 4:30 and 5:30. So she is trying to get out of Cherry Blossom to go across the road to Frisch's at the absolute worst traffic time. And that's terrifying to me, and I've been driving 35 years. So until you guys have your children and your spouses doing this on a daily basis, I don't think you have any idea how we feel living in this neighborhood and not being able to get where we need to go already. And you're talking about, okay, if you built Walmart there, you would have more traffic. But the Jersey Mike's that's there hasn't really created that much traffic for us. So I don't really think that just having some commercial properties there where people go have dinner or they go buy their pet supplies or whatever is gonna be what 152 apartment units are gonna do. So just from my perspective as a parent trying to watch Life 360 as my daughter's trying to get across there during horrible traffic times, I just want everybody to take that into consideration when they're
approving anything in that area, which is already atrocious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Dr. Kent Norberg, and I live
I'm
at
sorry, what was it again?
Dr. Kent Norberg.
Okay.
I live at 105 Cherry Hill Drive. Just a couple of comments about just reiterating my support for the concerns about traffic, but we've been constantly given the comparison of, well, if we put a giant big box store on this site, it will generate more traffic. The problem is, no big box store in their right mind is going to put a store on that site. So that's really not an issue. What is an issue is that we have all of this additional traffic, and I appreciate the fact, the notion that we won't issue any certificates of occupation for 2 years. But the problem is, during that 2 years, we still don't know if there's going to be any work done on the existing infrastructure. And more importantly, during that 2 years, there's going to be a massive amount of construction traffic on Cherry Blossom Park, 2-lane road, Fitness Drive, 2-lane road, Ikebana Drive, 2-lane road. And so you're going to have heavy equipment moving in. That's going to be blocking the road while they load and unload off the low boys. You're going to have heavy semis delivering construction materials, landscaping. You're going to have all the work for pavement and everything else. So the traffic concerns begin the day this is approved, not 2 years down the road when we actually turn key and let people through the door. All right. So again, I would encourage the committee to deny the proposal. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Singer, members of the commission. I'm Damon Baer. I live at 105 Spyglass in Cherry Blossom, which is the first road inside the development right by Planet Fitness. If this apartment complex goes through, I'll be able to throw a stone and hit it from my dining room window. Now, most of you might know that for 22 years I served as Scott County State Senator. I appreciate your service to this community. There's a reason I've never come before this commission before, because I'm loath to get involved in these sorts of issues. Or at least I was when I was a public servant. I know how tough a job you have. And I'm pro-growth. And I'm pro-development. I'm pro-business. I'm pro-free enterprise. I'm a member of this gentleman's gym, although after what I have to say today, we'll see if my membership card works when I come. That's okay. I also go to TMMK. So the ingress and egress into Cherry Blossom off Connector Road is a disaster already. And it will be catastrophic if this plan goes through. Now, if I could have the staff please pull up the PowerPoint of the 6-year road plan, because I helped write that road plan. In my last year as your state senator in 2024, former Representative Philip Pratt and I made the reconstruction of Connector Road a priority in the road plan. We funded the design, and then in the out years, we put money in for right-of-way, utilities, and construction. Now, Madam Chair, if you will indulge me, I've never given a 3-minute speech in my life.
We're going to need you to start tonight, David.
But I think it's important that everybody understands how the 6-year road plan works. Legislators plan out for 6 years, but only 2 years are funded. So what Representative Pratt and I funded was the design stage, and then we had the rest of the project, utilities, right-of-way, in the out years. That's what takes the longest. Design, utilities, right-of-way. Construction is actually usually the fastest part when a new road is built. Inexplicably, the next phase was dropped out of the budget in the road plan that was done this year. I don't know how that happened. I haven't been back to Frankfurt since I moved out of my office in December of 2024. My hunch is the money was traded out for Lexus Way, but I don't know that for a fact.
30 seconds.
But I knew on behalf of my neighbors and my constituents in Scott County that that road is a disaster. So there's a little bit of revisionist history by Mr. Woodall here tonight. There is no money in the current road plan to fix Connector Road.
Didn't say there was.
You used my name in vain, saying that I put it in there. It's not in there. See, 26, 27, 28. Bumpkus, 0. Right now, any reconstruction, let's say our current legislative delegation is able to get money in the road budget 2 years from now, we're 6 to 10 years. Trust me, I've been funding road projects in this county for a quarter of a century. We're 6 to 10 years away from new construction on that road that I put in there originally to deal with the current situation. This is a disaster, waiting to turn into a catastrophe. I thank you for your time and attention tonight, and I urge that you concur with the staff recommendation to deny this application. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Mahansky. I live at 108 Sunnydale Drive, Georgetown. I'm going to probably change.
Can't hear you, Chris.
I'm sorry?
I live at 108 Sunnydale Drive, Georgetown,
Can
Kentucky.
you pull the mic up a little bit?
I guess I'm too tall. So, my concern is with the others is some of the town or the apartments that we have now. One is the Mark, and the other one is the Mills that we have. I have some data on. From January 26th to current, the Georgetown Police Department had 115 calls to the Mark, the one that was just previously built across from the new Kroger's. From January 26th, January 1 to current, which is August 26th, they've had 63 calls to the mill. So the issue that I have is it seems like there's going to be a lot of issues. Example, like domestic violence, drugs, theft. That's going to be coming right next to my door. That cherry blossom, and we don't want that. I mean, put yourself in this condition that you are in our position now, possibly going to have all these drugs, theft. They say that they're going to vet all these people, but I can guarantee you from history, there's going to be theft and drugs in the parking lots. There's going to be domestic violences. There's going to be all kinds of stuff. Emergency calls, everything. And then the other issue is they talk about there won't be any issue with traffic. I know we talk about traffic. You're adding another 270 to 300 parking spaces. Are they just going to stay in the apartment? They're going to drive around too. Either 150 in the morning because they got morning jobs, and 150 in the afternoon because they got an afternoon job. So take this into consideration about the mess that we're in. Please. Look around. All Cherry Blossom residents that came to oppose this. Just look. How many people do you think's in here? 200? Just put yourself in this position. We have a beautiful subdivision. Probably one of the best in Georgetown. I don't want to tear it down with an apartment complex coming in right next door.
30 seconds.
All that's doing is adding more drugs, violence, and everything else to it. You know, when they do their checks for criminals, it doesn't guarantee that another criminal won't come in and visit. So I just want you to all take a look at all the community that's here to support. Please don't have this business built. It's no good for us. Thank you.
My name is Denise Perkins. I live on Spyglass Drive. I'm a real estate agent. Forget the traffic. I got to talk about property values. We have people here, they're not even living in Cherry Blossom, that realize what happens to their property when our value goes down. And my concern is what happens to the tax base for our community when all the property values go down. And I believe in home ownership as someone else did. Apartment buildings, they win. So when the banks see the property values going down, they're gonna see us as a high risk, which is gonna make the down payments become higher. We will never get young people in homes. That's my concern. Thank you.
All right, I have a pet peeve of, can everybody hear me? That's good. Maybe I can teach good. Anyway, I live at 102 Olympia Way, just down from the fitness center. Traffic goes down through there.
State your name too for the record.
Randy Blankenship. All right. What happens when the traffic comes out of this place that they're going to build, and they see the traffic build up that's trying to get out down there on the connector road? They're going to make a right. They're going to head right straight back through Cherry Blossom Village there. That's going to add a whole more traffic. But I got a couple of questions, then I'll get out of here. I know you are familiar with the problem on the traffic. How many of you have been out there and studied it and experienced it? You all going to be making the decision on this. What I want to know, have you experienced it like everyone in here has, where you sit and get, we've already had one accident in my family there. Not because of us, but because someone made a foolish decision to turn left, not even give a signal, but come up there and then, phew, I'm going to go down through there towards Cherry Blossom. But anyway, if you've not been out there and experienced it, have y'all actually been there and experienced it? Have you been there when the traffic is backed up? You've got a dart out there, put yourself, your children, anyway, put yourself in our position. We can't handle any more traffic there. So anyway, that's all I've got to say.
Hi, my name's Linda Angel, and I live at 100 Spyglass Drive, and I've lived there now for 23 years. And I live right behind Planet Fitness, and I have seen everything. I have seen cars turn over, I've seen them slide, I've seen them go through my front yard, and I agree with Randy. If they can't get out at the stoplight, and if the apartments come, most likely, they're gonna be dangling a carrot in front of all the Toyota employees, you know, to get closer to work so they get closer to home, you know, easy in, easy out. It's gonna bring them through the neighborhood. And I've seen that, and if that happens, they're gonna be going through the neighborhood, our values are gonna decrease, and it is like a freeway there by my house, by that island. I swear, I'm surprised that nobody has taken out the island yet, or gone straight across into 101 Spyglass. Please, I'm asking you all, please do not approve this until the infrastructure is fixed, and that is probably years down the road. Please, come, I invite you to come sit in my driveway. I asked our former president of the HOA, Pat Owen, she came over one time and she sat there and we looked at all the cars that came through there and at the rate they go. And most of the time people come in there and they don't know where they're going. So they turn around at the island, they're by my driveway. They go up into my neighbor's yard and you can see in their yard, but they don't care about their yard. So that is true. They go up in their yard, they turn around and they go back out. And it's because people, they come in and they don't know where they're going. But also it's becoming Planet Fitness has became a 18-wheeler overnight truck stop. It's free, it's the best $10 that a trucker can purchase to take a shower at Planet Fitness from Virginia to California, the cheapest one. And our buddy, we put up 19 signs that said no parking for semis on Blossom Park Drive. Well, I'm afraid our truck drivers can't read. And the PD, they know me, and they know me for good reasons. Okay, thank you. But
we were advised to call. Eddie Hightower said, hey, you call whenever there's an 18-wheeler parked out there. They're not supposed to be parking. And so there was one today. I called and the 18-wheeler was there, right there at the entrance. He was sleeping after he'd taken the shower. So it's only gonna make a bad situation worse. So I'm asking you all, please do not approve this. Thank you for your time.
My name is David Shropshire. I live in the Villages of Cherry Blossom, 115 Hammock Way. And two things. One, I just wanted to let the group know that, well, I am spokesperson for our HOA, and we adamantly oppose this zone change, but that's not really the reason I'm up here now. We talk about traffic all we want to, but one thing that has not been mentioned, think about this. You have a heart attack. You have an injury. Can an emergency vehicle get to your home and get out of there and get to where they need to be in a reasonable amount of time? People say, well, this is crazy, time doesn't matter. I've got an example. My wife's brother-in-law had a massive heart attack. He doesn't live in our area, but he got to the hospital, and when he got there, they said, if you had gotten here 1 minute later, you would die. And that could happen to anybody because of this issue of trying to get in and out of our neighborhood, Cherry Blossom, the golf town homes or whatever. So keep that in mind when you think about your loved ones, especially us older folks. Thank you.
David Shropshire.
David Shropshire, I'm sorry.
Anybody additional?
All right, good evening. Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for letting us all come out and speak tonight. My name is Michael Crisp, and I'm a longtime Georgetown resident. My family and I live at 167 Clubhouse Drive. And I had planned on talking about a lot of different things within the 3 minutes, but everybody stated them well, better than I could ever do that. So thank you for what you guys said. A couple quick things though, regarding the comprehensive plan. We did, have that mentioned earlier. The comprehensive plan also mentions that Georgetown-Scott County puts a value on home ownership. Now, last year, I believe the statistic from Bluegrass Realtors was that 37% of Georgetown is now rental. So as this development comes along and as more apartments come along, we might be looking at a day sometime in the next few years where we might have more rentals in Georgetown than we do home ownership. And so that would actually violate the comprehensive plan, that particular aspect of it. One other thing before I take off, just briefly touching on traffic. In the very back of the Cherry Blossom neighborhood, where there's over 450 homes, if you want to take a left out of the neighborhood during rush hour especially, good luck. You're going to be there for a long time. Fortunately, we do have a gate in the very back of the neighborhood that one day in our lifetimes, that gate will be open probably. But whenever it is open, whatever development with this apartment complex or some other type of development, they will see that as an opportunity to take a right onto Blossom Park, go through the neighborhood, and our neighborhood will just be a huge cut through as they exit to go out Oxford and then wrap around, I guess, by the Mark and Lowe's and everything to get out. So that's another consideration to think about with regards to traffic and safety. So thank you again. I appreciate what you guys are doing. Thank you.
My name is Alan Mazzetti, and I represent just 22 people in homes at HOA. I live on 112 Bedbase Path. I moved to the United States 54 years ago, to Colorado. Then I moved to Kentucky in 97. I lived in Paris for 29 years. I survived Paris Pike until they put the new road. I survived 460, even though they haven't improved it on the east side of Paris. My kids told the car to, I'd forgotten all that until Lady mentioned it earlier. And I was not against this really, because I listened to their presentation. I thought they did a good presentation a month ago to the neighborhood. However, after listening to this, I just hope I can survive Connector Road. It's really a mess, and I hope you turn it down. But I also was a little offended. I felt that was kind of a veiled threat, putting big blocks out there. Because if you have that plan, maybe you should have brought them both and let us have an input on both of them at the same time. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, I'm David Lusby. I live at 121 Lockwood Drive. I've been in Cherry Blossom for a little over 20 years. I had the honor of serving this community on the Georgetown City Council for 29 years. I want to thank Senator Thayer for the work that he did. He was instrumental in so many road projects, as you all probably know, working with the city council, work with the state, and that's kind of the direction I want to go. You asked for different opinions. I love Cherry Blossom. I love my neighbors, and I want nothing but the best for our whole community. So I had the opportunity to call Kelly Baker. Senator Thayer, I know you know Kelly Baker well. Kelly Baker's at District 7. And we talked about the money coming out, not getting the funding for Connector Road. We also talked about Lexus Way and the plan for Lexus Way. We talked about several projects here in our area. And one of the things that was talked about was maybe doing a punch through on Lexus Way. Instead of trying to fund the whole big project, Kelly Baker thought perhaps that a breakthrough project might be something that could benefit our community, especially those in the Cherry Hill area, and taking some pressure off of the intersection down by Applebee's. So what he suggested that we do is we ask for local support from our county government, from our city government. I've spoken with Michael Crisp, I've spoken with several other council members and some members of the fiscal court to put together resolutions to send to District 7 and to try to go ahead and fund many of these projects. So I wanted to take a little bit different direction. I think Kenny Bramwell's here. Linda, you talked about accidents. I had 3 daughters, and 2 of them had incidents. I had Kenny on speed dial for a while, and fortunately nobody was seriously hurt. But anyway, thank you all for this topic. We've had a lot of meetings in this community, and this is probably one of the biggest turnouts that we've ever had. I want to thank the commission for the work that they do, for your staff, thinking of this room and the accommodations. This is the way it should be.
Yes,
So.
yes.
So now, when you talk about punch through, you mean like from Old Oxford, from Oxford Drive, right to that short section?
Exactly. We're talking about just a few hundred feet, and it would just kind of open up the idea of taking a little bit of pressure off. There's already a traffic light there, and sometimes when you do something like this, that can perpetuate the future plan. There's still properties that need to be purchased in order to extend Lexus Way. There's still easements that need to be obtained. And quite honestly, we did have a plan when I was in office with Tom Craker and Andrew Hartley to put a gate at the backside of Cherry Blossom. That gate would have members would have or residents would have a barcode so that they would be the only ones that could come in the gate. And then obviously emergency vehicles could do the same thing. So there was a plan for that, and I'd like to revisit that when the time permits. So thank you.
Thanks, Joseph. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak?
Hello, my name is Jason Sakon, 150 Club
Also in charge of the golf course out there and the development company as well that develops the raw land out there. I do want to start by thanking the planning commission. I know the job's not easy and having to balance a lot of different incentives that people have, different personalities, all that kind of stuff. I appreciate that. And I really want to give a shout out to the planning staff. The planning staff does a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes, and they really do their best to work to do what's best for this community. So I really, really appreciate them. I just want to highlight a few things. I don't want to, beating dead horses here or anything like that, but I do want to just kind of highlight a couple things. First one is kind of the purpose of this. The comprehensive plan shows that this should be, mixed-use neighborhood center, right? And that's something that it's been there for years and years and years. Anybody who's bought a home in Cherry Blossom has seen that on the plan, has seen that as that should be something that will be there in the future, right? And to take what is supposed to be a mixed use, which again, the vision for that is something that is integrated, walkable, right? Look at like Fritz Farm down in Lexington as an example, right? It's something where, yes, you have some taller buildings, and yes, you have some apartments, but you've got restaurants, you've got retail, you've got office spaces, right? If somebody lives in this neighborhood and they're a CPA, they want to have an office nearby that they could walk to or bike to or something like that. Like that's the purpose of it, right? It's a true mixed use. And what this feels like is it's essentially a rug pull for the people who live there that work for, right? They bought, they expected to have that at some point in the future, and now it's an apartment complex. I do also think that, even as it is, I think that, yes, there are traffic issues. Yes, there are issues to that, but I'm also not naive enough to think that, you can't have anything built there at any point ever, right? Anything that comes there is going to have traffic issues, but the question is, to what extent do you have a negative traffic impact with the benefits for the people who are living there in the community? And the comprehensive plan, right, for a neighborhood center says that has that, improves the quality of life for the residents who are already there, right? I don't see this doing that. There's the negative impact of the traffic, there's negative impact others have talked about, but there's not the actual benefit for the people who are living there. Aesthetically as well was proposed, right? Everything around that is all brick construction, a higher quality build, higher quality neighborhood, higher quality aesthetic. What's been proposed is essentially cheap siding. Yes, it looks like a farmhouse aesthetic, but that's popular because it's cheap to build. I guess my final point in the short time I have left is just I really appreciate the commission could consider the significance of this land. This is, if you look at what's around, everything else has been developed. This is the last parcel to really make this area a bit of a standout for Georgetown, a bit of a crown jewel for the city, to show that Georgetown is different. Georgetown is not just another also ran suburb of Lexington, right? It has something unique, it has unique identity, it has places that people want to be. This is the last area where we can really preserve that sense of community and walkability and blend from residential to commercial.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, my name is Amanda Rakes, and I live at 128 Limestone Lane. I think I may be the only person to speak here this evening that is not a resident of Cherry Blossom. I live in Rocky Creek Reserve, just at the very end of the road where it turns into Oxford Landing, which I think there are literally 5,000 homes that have been built in there. And we're dealing with the traffic on on Old Oxford Road. You come out to Paris Pike, like they're getting ready to have I'm on the HOA at Rocky Creek Reserve. Right now on Paris Pike, we're getting ready to have the shoulders extended out on the road, a lot of construction there. You come out the back of our subdivision and you cut through Coles where all of the bushes, everything is all overgrown. You can't see to turn left, right. People are flying down Old Oxford Road. You go around and you try to go to Walmart and you get hung up in all of the traffic that is coming out of Cherry Blossom. And I'm sorry, but if I were a resident of Cherry Blossom, you can put a gate up to keep people from going in and out, but it still doesn't alleviate the traffic problems. And it's not, it's not only the residents of Cherry Blossom, it's the whole community. Like, I can't, I dare one person in here to raise your hand and let me know that you don't go to Walmart at any time in a given month. I mean, as much as I would like to avoid it, sometimes it's necessary. And just like the lady who has a newly minted driver, I also have another driver that is within a month of getting her license. And, you know, it's, Georgetown in general is a nightmare to drive. I used to live in Kingwood, and I never understood it because, you know, I was like, we went across the road to Western Elementary, dropped our kids off, and came back home. And I was like, oh, I don't know what people are talking about, all of the traffic. Well, now I have children, we live in Rocky Creek Reserve, we have children who go to Royal Spring, we have children who go to Scott County High School, that go to Elkhorn Crossing. And I drive a route all throughout town, all throughout the entire day. And this is just one more headache to add onto the pile. And so, council, I genuinely, like, even as a member of Georgetown, or a community member that is not, that doesn't reside in Cherry Blossom, I urge you, please, please vote against this. Thank you.
My name is Carl Kelleher. My wife and I have lived in the Georgetown area for the last 10 years. 2 years ago, we moved from Victoria Estates and we moved to Cherry Blossom, and it's been a blessing. And I don't need to take 3 minutes. I appreciate this council very much because I truly feel that you want to listen to the voices. And I hope that I'm not out of order here, but I think there's 200 people. And I believe, you know, when you run for politics, you don't just represent yourself, but you represent the people that you work with, you know, that sent you to that position. There's 200 people here tonight, and I would dare to say that probably 95% of us would not be in favor of this. You guys did a great job, but our homes are our biggest investment. And if you had an investment of $500 to $1 million, you would hate it for somebody to bring something that would look. I've worked all of my life. My house is totally paid for. I'm a local pastor. I want to do the right thing. But you're going to vote in just a few moments. I guess I'm the caboose at the end. But would it be wrong just to say, if we saw a hand vote, how many of you would be opposed to this? Would you just put your hand up? If I was getting ready to make a major decision as a pastor, I better listen to my congregation or I won't be there very long. Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak? Anybody else want to speak? Any additional questions from the commission? Any comments or questions, developer side? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Ray Johnston, 138 Cherry Hill Drive. You're talking about extending Lexus Way in my backyard. I don't really understand how taking traffic off of Lexus Way to Old Oxford is going to help. Just kind of rerouting things in my opinion. It's over to Old Oxford, you're going to turn left, go to Newtown, or you're going to turn right to take you back to Connector Road. I don't see how that's a benefit for anything. Just wondering what the idea was behind that. You know, what's being gained. I know you're moving traffic around a little bit. It's just kind of like shuffling things. I don't think anything's going to be accomplished there. So, just not anything.
Thank you. And staff wants to say about that. Okay. Anything additional from the developer side?
Conclude, Madam Chairman, quickly. Thank you all again for carving out time to have a special meeting. Thank all of you all for coming. I knew this was going to be tough. I mean, we knew that. We heard comments and took those to heart during the neighborhood meeting we had. How can you not be moved by this? Just a couple of things I want to clarify. The comment was made that Mr. Garrett somehow can threaten people. That's just not true. The fact of the matter is we all raise our hand and we take notes when we come in this chamber, whether it's a courtroom or a planning commission. And Mr. Jesse asked him a point blank question. And he can sit there and lie about it, sit on his hands, or he can tell the truth. And that's what he did. Because that's what we said from the beginning. We tried to do the right thing here. Everybody would like this just to be, this remaining 13 acres to just be a $5 million, $6 million dog park. I don't think the city is going to buy a $5 or $6 million dog park. And it's going to be something. And our position has been all along that it would either be B5 as it's zoned now, or it would be what we'd like it to be, R3. And the reason we chose that zone is because it was the least intrusive. And on the traffic counts, I think Ms. Zimmerman has explained, her basis for that. She's a traffic engineer and worked for the transportation cabinet for a number of years. So, as far as the comments about this not truly being a mixed-use development, I don't think the staff has really had a problem with our plan from that standpoint. That's never been an issue of us not being within the comp plan. There's clearly a mixed-use component to this. That's why it's laid out the way that it is. And it's clearly a neighborhood center as the comp plan contemplates. But, at the end of the day, the seminal issue here is traffic. That's just it. That was 99% of what everyone talked about. And the issue becomes, what are the traffic counts? If it's an R3, they're substantially lower than if it's a B5. And at some point, I hope, I would say this, one of the things we did talk about at the neighborhood meeting is what can we do as a developer to help move these projects along, to help get them prioritized. We talked about that. I would encourage everybody to, Georgetown, notwithstanding Senator Thayer, former Senator Thayer, thought I used his name in vain, didn't do that, but Georgetown's always had very powerful folks in the legislature. You've always been able to get stuff done. And there's no reason that both of these projects, at least one of them, shouldn't be done. So talk to your legislator, talk to your senator, talk to your representative, get on this, get it reprioritized, no matter what happens tonight. Because you're still going to have the traffic problem whether we build this project or not, folks. So I would just encourage you to do that. But thank you for hearing us. We believe this is the best use of this property, and that's what we've tried to bring to you, and we've worked hard at it. I hope you see that. Thank you.
Yes.
Can I touch on something? I'm David Losby again, and I wanted to come back up. Senator Thayer, thank you for your comments this long ago. I told you I love this neighborhood, I love this community, but I want to make it perfectly clear. I support my neighbors 100%. And if they're opposed to this, I'm certainly opposed to it. Maybe I did make it clear earlier, and I just want to reemphasize that. I want to do what I can for this community, I want to help this community, and I support you 100%. Okay? Thank you.
Not unless the chair needs it. Okay, no. One last call before we close the public hearing. Are there any additional public comments? Because once we close the public hearing, the time for questions and comments will be done.
Are you going to vote tonight?
Yes, we will vote tonight.
Can we call for the vote?
No, we have to make a motion for the vote.
Okay.
So, last call. Going once, going twice. Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. So, I'll entertain a motion now. Let me make it clear. And you all correct me if I'm wrong, but the staff recommendation is denial, which means a recommendation for yes means to go with the staff recommendation. A recommendation for no means to go and approve the development, correct? It always gets confusing when we have a recommendation for denial. I just want to make sure everybody's clear.
So to reiterate staff's position on this project, staff recommends denial. So in making the motion could be to adopt staff's recommendation of denial and then just vote on it.
That's probably the cleanest.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm ready to make the motion. Okay, Mr. Can you get the sheet? All right, Mr. Jesse?
Before I make the motion, there's a couple things I want to say. This planning commission.
Oh,
You get a microphone.
All the people involved in this, from the developers to the planning staff, the people sitting on this table, to the citizens, this is the most time I think has ever been spent on something like this. And I appreciate the community being here, and I want to invite you to fall in love again with the place that you're sitting in, which is Georgetown College. You have 2 trustees here in the back. You have a trustee. I'm a trustee. We're glad you're here. Glad Georgetown College provided this space. So, it is no easy thing when we make these decisions, and we don't run for election. Make sure everybody here knows that we are appointed. So that's how we get here. So I'm making the motion to deny this development based on the staff with a couple other comments. That was traffic and safety, and equally important from the community's point of view is negative effects on the community overall, including most importantly quality of life. So that is with the staff recommendation, but also with the addition of negative effects on quality of life of the people of Georgetown. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I would ask when you vote to make sure to grab the mic since we can't hear from far away. We have a motion by Mr. Jesse and a second by Mr. Black. So with that, Ms. Canfield,
Yes.
Mr. Vest,
Yes.
Mr. Stone,
No.
Mr. Garrett? No, sorry.
I'm gonna vote yes, but I wanna give credit to the developer for trying to make it fit, but it just doesn't fit this location. It's good for Georgetown somewhere else, but not at this location. And I wanna comment to the community for coming out and supporting to make it. This was a tough decision for us. We've been wrestling with it for months, so just wanna let you know we're voting no. I mean, yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Jesse?
Yes.
Mr. Black?
Yes, and also want to echo my colleagues' comments and thank the community for coming out and standing in solidarity. It's been very inspirational to hear all your all's testimony, so we appreciate you.
All right. So before we finalize the vote, obviously, regardless of my vote, it won't pass, but depending on which way you look at it, it's going to be no in the end in terms of the development. I will reiterate the comments that Mr. Jesse, Mr. Garrett, Mr. Black have made. Certainly, our task isn't an easy one. We have to balance the community's desires with ultimately following the law. A lot of people think this is an opinion-based thing when it's not. It's ultimately looking at the law and what is within our purview to approve or deny based off of what the ordinances are. And I do want to say, credit to the developer. I know you all have spent a ton of time and work and effort to try to listen to the community and make adjustments. Ultimately, I am going to vote yes for the denial because I do think that traffic issue, until that is addressed on Connector Road, it's going to be really challenging to do any more development in that area at this point. I understand the challenge from the developer side and that you've had the zoning for 26 years for commercial. But hopefully, with the support, I think if we can get the support of numbers like this to talk to our legislators and just show up at those meetings, then perhaps there can be real change for that area. Because I think, as Mr. Woodall said, regardless if this development happens or not, the traffic is still going to be there.
Right.
And I think I would encourage you all as citizens and folks impacted by that area to contact your legislators and be public advocates for making the road changes that need to be made, that won't be made unless it's made a priority. So, all right, with that, any motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right.